Okay, guys, this is one of the next examples on your notes for today. But ultimately, you've been using them really kind of the whole time that we've talked about quadrants and we've talked about where things lie and everything like that. The thing that we want to pay attention to is the A Smart Trig class. In quadrant 1, all functions are positive. In quadrant 2, sine and of course cosecant, because sine and cosecant go together, are positive. Tangent and cotangent in quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4 is cosine and secant. So a smart trig class. So when we're looking at this, letter A is just simply saying where's this angle? If we drew this angle, where is it going to be? We need to have our sine greater than 0, which means it has to be positive, and we need to have our cosine greater than 0, which means that has to be positive. And the only place that both sine and cosine are positive is in quadrant 1. Okay? So you're just literally naming a quadrant. So then if we go and we take a look at B, sine will be negative and cosine is going to be negative. Okay, so if you look at this, well, obviously, if they're both going to be less than 0, they're both going to be negative. Quadrant 1 is gone, so we don't want that one for this one. I'll put a little purple X there. That's not going to work. Quadrant 2, sine is positive, so that's not going to work. Quadrant 3, just tangent and cotangent are positive, so that's probably going to be the one. But then I just want to double check quadrant 4. Cosine's supposed to be positive there, so that's not going to work either, so it's got to be quad 3. Okay, I'm gonna switch to, we'll go round. All right, so letter C, we got tangent has to be negative and cosine has to be negative. All right, that's telling us that if we were to draw that angle and if we were to take the trig functions of that angle, then it would be negative for both of them, those two, and so automatically quadrant 1 is out. And then actually quadrant 3 and quadrant 4, if you just double check real quick, tangent would have been positive in quadrant 3, and that wouldn't have worked. Quadrant 4 would have had positive cosine, so it's got to be in quad 2. Okay? All right, and then last but not least, I wonder if this lime green will show up. We'll try it out. We want tangent to be negative, so it's got to be less than 0, but we need cosine to be positive. And again, you can work your way around. Ultimately, here, up in quadrant 1, all of them are positive, so that doesn't work. Quadrant 2, only the sine is positive, and we needed the cosine to be positive, so that doesn't work. There we go. That doesn't work. Quadrant 3, our tangent would be positive, and that would be the only one, and that's not going to work, and we actually need it to be negative anyway. So quadrant 4, that is where our cosine is positive, and that is the only one. Cosine and secant are the only two that are positive there, so we are in quadrant 4. Okay? And it's just kind of a reminder, ultimately, remember, if you think in terms of opposite over adjacent or opposite over hypotenuse, if you think in terms of x's and y's, your x and your y up in quadrant 1, those are all positive. So everything is just going to be positive. Over here in quadrant 2, your y is negative. And sine and cosecant, I'm sorry, I lied. Your x is negative. There we go. Your x is negative. And so basically, cosine, which deals with x, and secant, which deals with x, those are going to be negative. And then your tangent and your cotangent, because they both have x's in them when you do y over x or x over y, that's going to be negative. So sine, which is just plain y, and cosecant, which is 1 over y, those are the only two that are going to be positive. Down here, because both your y and your x are negative, the only thing that's going to be positive is your tangent and your cotangent, because that's y over x and x over y, and ultimately when you take negative over negative, you get a positive. And over here in quadrant 4, your y is negative, so anything that's dealing with y is going to be negative, but everything that's dealing with just x, cosine and secant, that's going to be positive. Okay?